I teach people about daily cutting cords and working with their energy. Then a very quick process incorporating breath and word and just pressure on the heart to bring you back into the now moment. Then there's a really quick process of where do I feel that emotion in my body? And you can use breath to track it and breathe it out and it will lift. So talking won't get you to those. It won't clear your energy.
No.
It won't, because you're in an energetic fight.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Prepare to engage. Seatbelt activated. Download initiated. Your quantum journey of transformation begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Hi, I'm Rob Actis, best-selling author of The Law of Action, voice actor, business mindset coach, the podcast whisperer, and Mr. Action himself. Here at Life Transformation Radio, we are committed to share more about real life, love, the power of positivity, romance, and of course, laughter. We care about helping others find their internal drive and purpose. We celebrate life's challenges and overcoming them. And on the show, my guests are amazing people who are forces for good in the world around them and live a life of transformation. My guest today does just that. Kay Doran is a powerhouse entrepreneur, author, speaker, and coach who specializes in helping women realize their full leadership potential. Kay has a unique blend of skills and abilities, including shamanic energy, sound healing, and life coaching that enable her to help her clients create positive changes in their lives. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the power of energy work, the importance of staying true to your core values, and the role of fear in personal growth. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be transformed. Kay, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And this conversation will also be relevant to men. I've worked with men in the past as well, but I'm very focused on the women now. But the process is still all the same for all of us.
And you know what? I'm very focused on women as well, but that's another conversation that we can have in another podcast. I told you, we got to have laughter. You know, we have to have laughter. So before we started, I was checking on your website and I'm feeling called to talk about this with the shamanic, but you're a shamanic sound healer. And I just had an experience with that. So let's just peel the onion a bit about that. That's so powerful. Never in a million years did I realize how the breath work and the sound with music ingrained is so powerful.
It is incredibly powerful. And so that's one aspect of what I do. But what I do ultimately, Rob, is I work with energy. Everything is energy. Color, sound, number. And many years ago, when I was sort of immersed in my own healing journey, you could say, I became a mess, an absolute mess. I had young babies, young kids, and I seemed to be on the couch crying all the time. And I've had an inner voice of knowing all my life, been really dialed up. From the age of 5, my mum would tuck me into bed. We'd do our prayers, close the door, and I'd go, God, I know I chose to be here. Take me home. I know I have to be back in the morning. And this inner voice always constantly talking to me, teaching me, guiding me all my life, never dialed down. So I remember sitting and meditating going, God, there must be an easier way to heal. Next thing you know, I'm being educated about what was happening to me, why it wasn't working. I got shown all these different sound tools, explained how to use them and how to work with energy. And that also people get too caught up in talking about stuff and looking back at the past. And when someone walks in the door and sits down, they don't have to tell me what's going on. I know it. Their soul starts to talk to me. Their energy is telling me. I sense it before they turn up. And, sometimes getting caught in the conversation of what it is actually takes you away from it it's like just rewiring them. And sound is an incredibly powerful tool to work with energy, and each sound tool has its own unique gift. And then also working with the energy that flows through me and soul retrieval and, incorporating it all. But at the end of it, it's just energy that I'm shifting and redirecting. It's a bit like rewiring someone. And that sounds like to me that's what you experienced the other evening, but no one's really touching you.
Yeah. So the other night, a good friend of mine set up this very special evening for me and my wife, and it was incredible. So they invited us into their home. I didn't really understand what was going on. He mentioned we were going to do a breathing exercise. Okay, I'm in. Like, I'm all into all this. I'm so open to really anything that will raise my vibration and that will, get me more into 5D and break out of the matrix. That's just really a conversation that I am really living. And my team of spiritual guides just always tend to direct me in the right way. So what happened was we had a beautiful dinner, and then this woman approached, and she came in, and she was tall and had this incredible spiritual energy. She went upstairs and she goes, "We're going to be ready." It took a little about 30, 40 minutes. We walked up there and there was candles lit. And in this loft area, there was the blanket, this beautiful blanket. And on there were all these musical instruments. And I was like, that's really cool. And then we all sat down, we had some pillows and we had little blankets, and we had a conversation of what her intention was. She explained a little bit about what she was going to do, how to trust in the process. And it was to allow our voice to come through. And she is a opera singer. And what transpired was amazing. So she had drums, Native American drums. She had singing bowls. She had this thing that wasn't an accordion, but it was kind of like an accordion. And then she had the rain stick, and she had all these little instruments. We laid down on the floor. We closed our eyes. We got in our space. And it was the most incredible, it was like a psychedelic spiritual journey without any psychedelics. That was amazing to me. What I experienced of the singing and the voice that was coming out of me was this really deep, deep voice. And then I was singing in this super high pitched, and it was on cue. I mean, it was in, what do you call it? Not in tone, but it was on key. And I was singing very high pitched in this very angelic, and I was sitting there and I'm experiencing this, and I'm going to myself, I'm not doing this. Like, when you talk, you know that you're talking. And there was these voices that were coming through me. And then when she was doing the Native American, hi, yo, I mean, I don't, I want to be respectful. I don't know exactly what I was saying, but she was doing it. And I've never done that. I've heard it multiple times. And then it was like, oh, I know that song. It's almost like singing Happy Birthday. You know the words? And I was singing with her. And we went, she says normally you go for like 30, 45 minutes. And we went for a good 2.5, 3 hours. And it felt like when it was done, and she's like, okay, we're done. I'm like, God, that wasn't very long. And it was like 11 o'clock at night. And it was incredible. Is that similar to what you do in the shamanic with the music?
Yes, so I too work with shamanic drums. I've got a whole room full that I've made, and I've got some specifically for my grandchildren to play, because the ones I work with within healing, I'm the only one really that can play them. And I work with rattles and a small rain stick. I work with singing bowls, crystal, and hand beaten out of seven different metals, bell and dorge. And I also work with my voice. So all my life I've been able to, and I've known energy and connection. So I can also sing energy to you, through you, and out from you. It sounds maybe a bit similar to what this woman does. And what happens though is when I'm connecting with someone and there's a block that needs to go, the sound comes out. It sings through you. It's the voice is just the vessel. So sometimes it could sound like a big yell. Other times it could sound like grief. Other times it can sound like a chant. Aboriginal kinds of sound. You can't control it. It's the sound of that energy releasing. And it's a little bit like, this woman probably knows this. We don't play the drum. We've got to let the drum play us. So when I do ceremony, I do cacao full moon drumming ceremonies and bring women together and do a journey intention and soul intention aside from ego. And we start to drum. Sometimes you can hear they're playing the drum, and then there's the moment where it all lets go and the drums start playing us. And it comes up high and low and it goes all over the place, and you can't predict how long it's going to go. You have to wait till the energy has done its thing and settles, just like your experience of, we're normally only this long and then it's hours. But you also get lost in that space of no time. No time exists. I'm just completely present and journeying and allowing.
The time, it felt like it was so quick. Now, did she lose track of time? Not lose track, but she was just so intentional of us having this experience, and it was the spirit and the energy and the universe was guiding her. So that's why it didn't cut off at an hour, because she wasn't watching the clock. She was on the journey with us, because it was really impactful.
And clearly that journey was meant to go on that length. If she knows how long it normally is, you can be lost in that, but you innately know, and the energy will, work with you and come to that conclusion. But I mean, I don't know because I wasn't there, but she was clearly in a space where this just needs to keep going. Let's just let it go. Something really special was happening.
It was, my wife was there, and we were breathing. We were doing all these different breathings. And then all at one point, she let out a blood-curdling scream. Like, it was really intense.
Yeah.
So she went somewhere on her journey. And the coolest thing about that is that I was conscious, and I'm very protective of my wife, but we had sent the intention that this was a safe space. And so my conscious knew that, my subconscious knew that. I didn't have to adapt and go rescue her or do anything.
Yeah.
That was her journey. And I was made very aware that was her journey, and she was okay. She was in good hands, and that was part of the process. And I smile when I think about that experience. And so what a generous gift of our friends to do that.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful. Sorry, Rob, I was just going to say, it sounds like from when I tune into that, your wife was just doing a really deep letting go, but from her lineage as well. So not just her own, just this. Yeah. And like, we're all going through, those that are aware at the moment, going through massive karmic release. Fast. So it can feel pretty intense, but we're having to shift it incredibly fast. I mean, you call it the matrix, and a lot of people call it the matrix. I always have different words for things. I call it like the spider's web, that's constantly trying to get us stuck. And the truth exists beyond the shadow of the belief system. So it's that belief system. So going through shamanic journeys like that is beautiful, because we're just out of our own way. Ego's not there. The mind's not there. We're just allowing, and the energy will just do its thing and help clear us. And I know that when people come to see me, at the end of it, they might even come in going, I've had Reiki, or I've had this, or I've had that, but this is very different. So they get up the table and I'm like, okay, how are you feeling? They're like, holy, won't say the word, but I know what happened, but I have no idea what just happened. But they'll start telling me experiences, or I'll start saying something if they need to know it. And they've experienced it. They've tapped into it. Their imagery, their feeling is the same as saying what I've done. And words can be very limiting to say what I've done because I'm working in so many different planes. It's not just the auric field or the chakras. It's past life stuff. It's soul retrieval. It's past life integration. It's a lot. So yeah,
there's a lot going on in the world right now, and we were talking about this, and you just mentioned this earlier, is that people that are not well-versed in this conversation that we're having right now, and we talked about, typical thing, if you have an issue, you go to therapy and you talk about your past, and you talk about it again and again and again and again and again. And I believe in now, like, let's stay present, like right now. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you have massive anxiety, you're living in the future. Really, you can find so much peace if you stay in the now. And one of the things that, you mentioned was the talking. And talking is very fascinating. So, had experience recently, had some friends over, and beautiful, loving couple, married couple, just really tight, intimate couple, love each other. They need to be together forever, soulmates, and they have dark shadow attached to them. They really do, from other people and other experiences.
yeah,
And it lightens up when, things are neutral. And then the pain body, and you can talk more about pain body, and we're going deep in this, and that the pain body then grabs a hold and it wants to create utter chaos. And it creates tension and anxiety and anger and frustration and being pissed off and just massive emotions. And then when there's a conversation over in this corner, and then there's a conversation in this corner, and then someone says something here and someone says something here, it just energizes that pain body. And it really just expands and almost blows up. So I had been advised by someone who's coaching me and counseling me in pain body, and that talking is one of the worst things you can do when the pain body has revealed itself and is in full swing of creating and that's hard to do, because the way we've been taught over our years of growing up is, let's talk this out. No, you want to dissipate that vibrational energy, and you want to let it just kind of like a fire. You want it to kind of burn out. It's not the time to resolve anything, because there's nothing to resolve. It just escalates and escalates and escalates.
yeah, yeah. And then you do get dark energies that will come and help feed that as well. And I'm all about, and have done this since my 20s, and I'm now 58. I'm an absolute advocate for teaching people how to own their own energy. And we're interacting all the time. So even now our energies are connecting. So a lot of the time people's thoughts and even their emotions and pain may not be their own. It can belong to others. So I teach people about daily cutting cords and working with their energy. Then a very quick process incorporating breath and word and just pressure on the heart to bring you back into the now moment. Then there's a really quick process of, where do I feel that emotion in my body? And you can use breath to track it and breathe it out, and it will lift. So talking won't get you to those. It won't clear your energy. It won't, because you're in an energetic fight. It's a push, and so you're right, just dissipating. But then even from a healing perspective, because I've had people come that have these attachments, where some healers make the mistake of, they see it as a negative, so we've got to get it off. But you can disconnect it, but it's still there. You've got to heal it as you heal that person to raise its frequency as well. Yeah.
So I've been through this, a lot of work with my person, and it's amazing how I've come so far, and she's rigorous and she squeezes me, and it's a very, very not pleasant experience. And she's very similar to you, is that she goes, look, you can come in here. You don't need to say a word. I just let you because you want to share what's going on. I already know. Like, she knows, because one of the things is, I'm like, I'm going to talk about this. And then she hands me a piece of paper for me to read about something. And it's exactly that.
Yeah.
Like, it's exactly that. The one thing that I wanted to say in regards to the pain body is that I feel so humbled that, in the conversation that I had with my friends, this couple, it wasn't me communicating with them. It was my team. And what's magical about it, and so beautiful, is that I got through to both of them, and they went to neutral corners and they stopped talking, and the pain body, it dissipated because it didn't have anything to feed on. They just got really calm, and it just went away. And now they're even closer now. The conversation now is deeper, and it just blows my mind how I've heard about the pain body. I've never experienced that. But right before that happened, I had a conversation with my person, my guide, in what that was. And I'm like, well, I don't have that. And then to see it in real life in front of me play out, and be able to look at it in a laboratory way of look, this is not real. You're having all of this upset, but it's not really what's going on. It's not even you or you. It's the pain body that has globbed on to your beautiful love, light energy, the intimacy that you have, because it doesn't want you to have that, because they're connected in some way, of thread that needs to be cut from the past, that just doesn't want that and just is going to rear its ugly head.
Yeah, I everything's multi-layered, Rob. So the way I also see it from my perspective is the wounded aspects that we've tried to discard, locked away in different places. And people will talk about inner child, and I say, excuse me, we've got a whole damned orphanage inside of us, and we reclaim one, and then the next part goes, got out safely, I'm going to come. The only way that they can communicate to us, or those aspects, that energy, whatever word you'd like to use, is through our pain body.
Right.
And we need to also stop and listen. So yes, stop letting it rule. That's where we also need to bring in love, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness for ourselves, because they're like shadow aspects going, but you need me. I need to come out from where you've locked me. And the only way I can communicate is through the pain body. So when we stop that fight that's going on, that's created because we're projecting it, we're caught up in it, and go quiet and come back to it, then there's the work to listen to it, to retrieve it, to reintegrate it, bring it back into the light, if you like, from these dark places where we've suppressed it. And they'll all present themselves in different ways. I've had an aspect, that was tied to a boulder. Do you know what I mean? And it's reclaim it, because we all have different symbolic ways that the energy will communicate to us. And, another aspect that was sort of locked in a trunk, but recognizing that everything's trying to communicate to us for our best. So when we let the pain body rule, we're not creating the best for ourselves. We create the best for ourselves when we recognize it, stop it, and go, okay, something's trying to let me know that it needs to be brought back into love, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness, and reintegrated back into that lighter aspect so we can expand our energy. Because everything we do, we need to go, what is this doing to my energy? Is this making me expansive, or is it contracting me? With this choice, the way I'm using my mind, the way, the choices that I'm making, what is this doing to my energy? Because we are energy and soul first. Now, a lot of spiritual people go, yeah, I know I'm a soul having a human experience, but they still function from being human first. If we can flip it and really integrate the understanding, I'm energy and soul first, then I'm physical. And then make those choices. Like there are things that I do with all my coaching clients. It's always about getting them their soul goals, soul visioning, not our own visualizing and ego goals. And when we start to come from that, that's when we become self-motivated as well, because it fires up every part of us. And understanding that we are energy and understanding that everyone has that inner voice of what I call knowing, power and potential that I've grown up with. It's 3 voices in one. It's so darn powerful. I don't call it intuition. That just feels like it's, I don't know, not quite real, but an inner voice of knowing, power and potential. The 3 components are the inner voice of knowing is God, if you like. Replace it with whatever word, divine I am. It doesn't matter. I'm comfortable with God. The inner voice of power aspect to it is the soul. The soul's calling you. And the potential aspect of that inner voice of knowing is your future successful self calling you, going, come, I'll show you the way. I've already made it. So when you think of your inner voice of knowing and you learn how to bring yourself into that heart intelligence, you can trust that. God, soul, future successful self, it's a knowing, it's a stake in the ground. It's my GPS in life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love this couple so much. They are so near and dear to me. I put my hand on my heart. I love them. They have a very special place in my heart. And it was really humbling that I could be a catalyst for them to have a safe space to what they went through, for one. And then 2, I blessed them both with love and light. And I've done a lot of work and I've grieved and I have the team behind me, and they did what they were supposed to do. And, you know, the end result, they went through this as we go through life experience. And, you know, if they're not super spiritual, they're a little bit, they're going to see it in more of the analog space as opposed to the source and the light. But I saw it so clear. And I, you know, as they were going through it, I just had such a love and compassion for them both. And that this is not you and this is not you. This is energy from the past. It's just combining. It's your, you know, your the experiences you've had in your life and the connection of dark shadow that's surrounded you that is rearing its head, and the beautiful soul and person that you both are is breaking through. It's actually birthing out. Like I said, the relationship they have and the communication that they have now is better than it was before this happened. And it was a very spiritual experience for me in that I've never witnessed that, but I was able to, like, you know, people say they have a near-death, not a near-death experience, but where they die and then they look above the room, they look down. I was able to be on the outside looking in with no judgment and just with tremendous compassion for both of them, because they didn't know that they were on this e-ticket ride with a pain body. They saw analog of, like, I'm mad at you, you're mad at me, you did this, I did this, I did this, and it had nothing to do with that. It was the pain body just said, I'm going to rear my ugly head and I'm going to make myself very known. And you need to know that you need to grieve of your past.
Yes.
You need to let that go and not hold on to it so tight.
What I love, Rob, about what you're saying is, you know, it takes courage to do the work. It really does, because as you say, you go into some dark places and grief and, you know, unwrapping things like that. It does take courage. which is why some don't do it or they get so far and stop. But, the gift that comes out of that is that unconditional. And that's the space that you held. I'm not here to judge.
Not at all.
And, it's that unconditional. And we're all horribly human and we're all perfectly imperfect. And we're,
Absolutely.
all of that. And we're all incredibly magnificent and soulful, beautiful beings. But doing that journey develops that unconditional love, compassion, aspects. And from my shamanic perspective, what I'd like to propose to you is you talk about this team that you have, and yes, you do, but they actually exist within you and they are part of you. So I'd like you to take ownership that it was you, because they are you. Those energies are you. And, we tend to discard ourselves, and then that power, those beings, whatever, how you perceive it, have done it, but it's in you. It's your wisdom too. It's you. You participated.
I'll take some credit, but it's funny because in the past, before I'd done any of this work, I would have taken, it's me. And so it actually is really nice to I don't need any credit. I like to say that I'm a catalyst. I like to be a catalyst, and I'm just part of the whole process. Love and light, our spiritual guides surrounding all of us. I don't want to say that it's me. I like to say that I got to be a catalyst and put it all together,
you're part
which is
of
great.
It. Yeah.
I'm part of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to claim ownership. That just seems very selfish and egotistical, and it feels very inauthentic because I don't need credit for it. I just am humbled that I was able to be a part of it and to be a catalyst for them to go through what they went through and be in a safe space.
Yeah.
Because where they came out and how the transformation has occurred is remarkable. It's just, they're closer.
Yeah.
And I love them even more.
Beautiful.
They're my dear friends. And I'll get emotional. I love them even more because I can see their pain.
Yeah.
And I can actually be a catalyst for them to absorb their pain because I will just bless them with love and light all the time. And they're going to transform just by being around me and getting my energy, and not even physically around me, but just because they're always in my thoughts. So whether, just because of the fact that we're all connected is just truly magical. And I love it.
Isn't that why we're here? To hold that space, to, become the love and the light. And then, be like, snails journey and they leave that beautiful silvery trail. A little bit like doing that. And then others cross that path and then those that you know and you hold in your heart. And, we don't have to be together to affect each other's energy. I can do a healing session for someone. I'm in Perth, Western Australia, over in America, because the energies are present. There's no distance. So I really love that. That's also your intention for those friends.
100%.
And
100%. All this stuff that's going on in the world, I bless it with love and light. And I sincerely mean that. There's so much in the world that I have no control over, and I don't need to be involved in it. There's so much conflict and there's so much anger and hatred, and, people just want to be upset and they want to be triggered and they want all that. And I'm like, I just bless it with love and light. And I try to raise my vibration on a continual basis to just be the most incredible spiritual soul that I can be, and not out of mouth of conversation, because talking, it sounds funny because I talk for a living.
Yeah.
And I can talk a lot, but the quiet and that quiet energy is what transforms.
And it's very loud on a different level.
It's very loud.
Yeah.
It's very loud.
Yeah. And I think the thing is creating our own personal world that then is reflected back to us. So, for example, the people in your life clearly are very beautiful and generous and, creating that and feeding that. And we can have a look at what's happening out there. And I tend to live from knowing that everything's happening for a reason and it's all unfolding for a reason. And if I get too harpooned to that, it can pull out judgment or it feeds fear and things. So I focus on my world, getting it right in here, so then it's beautifully reflected out here, and then that affecting and moving out to the rest of the world. But if we get caught in judging what's happening out there too, not saying that's what you're doing at all, but that's what can happen for people, we're feeding it. We're actually feeding it.
Yeah, exactly.
Feeding it.
Oh, I know.
It feeds back to us.
Yeah.
So, I can have people say, oh, there's not much beauty in the world. And I'm like, well, there's a whole lot of beauty in my world. There's beautiful people in my world. There's people that hold space for me to be authentic, human, and shaman. Do you know what I mean? Because we are all just on this journey, and we all need support, and there's power in our own vulnerability. And it's not about getting rid of the humanness of us. It's about evolving it. And when we understand the landscape of how to do that, and that fear has a purpose, excuses and everything, it's a language telling us where we're at. And then if we've got the right tools, one of your podcasts I listened to is talking about, the right foundation, which is a great way to do it. But then also when you're going on a great road trip, you prepare for that. And then you understand, because you're prepared for, maybe the changes in weather or landscape that you're going to go through. It's just the same. And when you understand the landscape and you go, oh my God, I've got fear now, because fear is actually my friend telling me that I'm going to have to grow, but I'm also heading in the right direction. Well, then and then I know how to defuse my fears. I've got a very quick 5-minute process for that. Then we understand that's the landscape, but we know how to get through that landscape. We know how to be prepared for it. It makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. Kay, thank you so much for waking up early in the morning. It's 7 a.m. in the morning for you. It's the afternoon for me. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Rob.
And I bless you all with love and light, and thank you for your support and taking time out of your busy and precious day, night, morning, evening. I so appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me, along my very special guest, to touch your heart, move your soul, and inspire you to live a life of transformation. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Download complete.